hole somewhere. There's a king brown snake waiting there. There's a king brown snake waiting there.
Hi, I'm Les Stroud, creator of Survivor Man, and welcome to this session of training and tutorial videos from Sony Creative Software. Now, these sessions are designed to show you the techniques and the tools you need to survive your next video editing sessions. The same tools that make Sony Vegas Pro software an integral part of my own production studios. Now, these tutorials are meant to not only help you survive
simple little acts like this that get you in the most trouble.
Your next video edit, but also help you refine your craft.
The Vegas Pro ProType titler has become a hot topic as people continue to discover the potential that the tool contains for creating sophisticated titling in their video projects. This month's video gives you a solid introduction to the ProType titler and how you can use it to bring professional titles to your project. The ProType titler is integrated inside Vegas Pro as a media generator. To find it, click the Media Generators tab in the window docking area. If the tab does not appear in the window docking area, choose View Media Generators to open the window. In the list on the left of the Media Generators window, you see all of the standard generators such as solid color, noise texture, color gradient, and so on. Select ProType Titler from the list. As usual, the area on the right shows you thumbnails of presets that you can add to your project to get started. I prefer to start with a blank ProType Titler event and go from there. To do this, drag the empty preset and drop it into the timeline. This adds a new event to your timeline and simultaneously opens the ProType Titler window. If you need to, move the ProType Titler window so that you can see the event in the timeline. Click the new event to place your cursor within it. This ensures that you will be able to see the results of your work as you move along. At the moment, you don't see anything in the preview window since you added an empty ProType Titler event, but we're about to change that. Double-click the title bar of the ProType Titler window to size it so that you're seeing all of the controls in the window. To add text to the workspace area, click the Add New Text Box button. The new text box appears in the center of the workspace area. Notice that the text is highlighted, and that a banner across the top of the area indicates that you have entered text edit mode. Type your new text to replace the sample text. To the left of the workspace area, you may have noticed that the Properties area changed when you added the text. The Properties area always shows you properties that relate to whatever has focus in the workspace area. In this case, since you're in text edit mode, the Properties area shows you span properties. In other words, you now see properties that relate to the text you've entered. The Font Family setting shows the default font. To choose a different font, click the current setting and preview the other fonts on your system in the Font Family drop-down list. Choose the font you want to use. You can play with the other settings here to see how the changes you make alter the look of your text. Most of these controls are pretty self-explanatory. Experiment with different settings to get a feel for what kind of adjustments you can make to the text. Click the Style and OpenType tabs for more options. ProType Titler supports OpenType features for OpenType fonts, and you can adjust those features on the OpenType tab. Now that you've made the adjustments you want to your text, you can use other tools to start getting creative with your titles. First, as the banner across the top of the workspace says, press the Escape key to exit text edit mode. Notice that the text box is now highlighted as opposed to the actual text itself. Notice also that the Properties area now shows text block properties and offers a completely different set of controls. The Transform tab contains controls that relate to the position and shape of the text box. To change these settings, you can either adjust the controls in the Property area or simply drag elements of the text block in the Workspace area. For instance, to make the box bigger, drag one of the corner anchors on the text box. If you want to constrain the aspect ratio of the text, first select the Lock Aspect button. Now when you drag one of the anchors, you can't distort the text box because the width and height maintain their aspect ratio. However, you can still change just the width or height if you want to with the X and Y scale faders in the Properties area. You can also create automation with your new text. This gives you the tools to create moving text, text that shrinks or grows, text that spins, and so much more. Let's talk in general about how automation works with a simple position automation that creates moving text. Once you get the hang of automating position, you'll understand how you can apply the same techniques to other aspects that support automation to create all kinds of effects. First, click the toggle automation buttons for both the X and Y aspects of the offset controls. When you do, you see automation envelopes appear in the timeline area at the bottom of the ProType titler window. These automation envelopes work very much like track envelopes, such as volume, pan, and fade to color envelopes. Notice that each envelope has a point at the very beginning. Now, drag the text block to the upper left-hand corner of the workspace. Keep in mind that the light boxes in the workspace indicate the frame edge, outer box, and the title safe area, the inner box. So you want to be careful not to cross these warning points. Place the text box so that it sits in the upper left-hand corner of the title safe area. You've just set these new position coordinates for the first, and so far the only, point on the automation line. Now, click about 2 seconds into the timeline at the bottom of the ProType titler. This places the cursor there. Drag the position box to the lower right-hand corner of the workspace. The envelopes now have 2 points, and a curve connects each pair of points. Click the Play from Start button in the ProType titler workspace to preview the motion you just created. You can add as many points to the envelope as you want, and you can automate any parameters that allow automation to create an endless variety of effects. Further, you can automate many of the controls on the Effects and Layout tabs as well. Now let's really start to get fancy. First, click the Delete buttons in the timeline area for both the X and Y offset envelopes to remove them. Make sure the text is set in the upper left-hand corner of the workspace. You just learned how you can automate the text box. You can also drill into that box and automate individual words or even letters. Click the Navigate to Child button. Now just the first word of your text is bounded by a position box. Click the Navigate to Child button again to isolate just the first letter of the first word. If you want to work with the second word or letter, click the Navigate to Next Peer button. Of course, click the Navigate to Previous Peer button to move back to the first letter. Let's start with just the first letter of the first word isolated. Click the Toggle Automation button for the Y offset to create an automation envelope for that aspect of this first letter. The first point on an automation envelope contains the current offset values. Click about 2 seconds into the ProType titler timeline to place the cursor there. Now, drag the first letter of your text down to the lower left-hand corner of the title safe area. Click the Preview from Start button to see what you have so far. Next, we're going to take the automation move you created for this first letter and automatically apply it to the other letters in the text block. In the timeline area of the ProType titler, click the Cascade Properties button for the single character you just automated. Click the Value for the Cascade Range drop-down and choose Subsequent Characters in Current Text Block from the list. Close the Cascade Settings window. Now click the Toggle Cascade button. This cascades the automation to each subsequent letter in the text block. Click the Play from Start button again to see the results. Now that you know how the automation and cascade techniques work, experiment with the other properties of the text. For instance, start your text with a maximum horizontal blur and transition it to not blurred. Rotate text from one point to the next. Fade it in over time. In fact, do all of these things simultaneously and see what you can create. There's much more to discover with the ProType titler, but the techniques you've learned here will give you a great start on building a completely new dimension into your projects. Take some time to experiment with the ProType titler, and soon you'll be creating dynamic and exciting text that not only complements your video editing work, but helps you take your video projects to a new level of professional quality.
There you go. Now, I may have to survive out in the wild, but when it comes to meeting my next production deadline, it's Vegas Pro that is my most valuable survival tool. Thanks for watching. Check out more of this series for valuable techniques.